Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the map of the world slowly coming to life before you. Lines begin to glow across continents, borders expand like rising tides, and from the distant horizon emerges a colossal empire, one whose frontiers touch the cool shores of the Adriatic Sea, sweep across the rugged landscapes of Eastern Europe, traverse the mountains and plains of Anatolia, and push deep into the beating heart of Egypt, Sudan, and the Middle East. Picture a world torn apart by conflict. Europe is suffocating under the weight of its own religious wars. Kingdoms are weakening, and nations are distracted by internal rivalries. And yet, in the middle of this chaos, an empire grows like a force of nature. Its population crosses 30 million, its territory spreads beyond 5.2 million square kilometers, and it extends its influence so widely that two of the world's three major international trade routes fall under its control. This was the Ottoman Empire. But the real wonder lies in the question that every historian silently asks: how did an obscure, insignificant Turkic tribe from the highlands of Anatolia rise to command three continents with such force and authority? To unravel that mystery, we must go back to the beginning. We must first understand a name, one that would echo through centuries. Where did the word Ottoman come from? It all began with a single man, Osman Gazi. That was the name his people knew him by. In Arabic, in Turkish, Osman. But when European chroniclers documented his rise, they adapted his name into their own linguistic style. They wrote it as Ottoman. And slowly, over decades, this foreign rendering became the official name used around the world. So in truth, when we say Ottoman Empire, we are simply saying Osman's empire, the world he set into motion. Once you understand this origin, the rise of the empire reveals its deeper logic. For Osman and his followers were not situated in just any corner of the world. Their homeland, Anatolia, lay at the most strategic crossroads on the planet. Stand there, and you stand at the meeting point of Asia, Europe, and Africa. To the west lies Europe. To the east stretches Asia. And only a short journey to the south opens into the Mediterranean Sea. But the true treasure of their geography were the two narrow yet mighty straits, the Bosporus and the Dardanelles. Whoever controlled these waters controlled the flow of trade between continents. Whoever held these gateways held the keys to empires. Few civilizations in all of human history were bestowed with such a naturally powerful, militarily defensible, and economically advantageous position. When Osman Gazi founded his state in 1299, it was no more than a small, modest district surrounded by rival tribes and declining Byzantine lands. But barely 150 years later, by the year 1453, everything had changed. The Ottomans had united almost all of Anatolia, taken vast regions of the Balkans, and achieved the unthinkable: the conquest of Constantinople, a city long considered invincible. Centuries of Byzantine power collapsed in a single decisive moment. And what other empires required 3 or 4 centuries to achieve, the Ottomans accomplished in nearly half the time. But rapid expansion like this demands a secret, a formula, a brilliance not found in ordinary states. Their secret was strategy. The Ottomans mastered the art of fighting on 2 fronts simultaneously, something few armies dared to attempt. While one wing expanded toward Syria and Iraq, another surged forward into Europe, crushing resistance in Bulgaria, Serbia, and Hungary. It was a calculated encirclement of entire regions, executed with precision and confidence. This style of warfare belonged to the greatest empires in history, and in this region, no one wielded it better than the Ottomans. Think of the empire as a rising chariot. Osman Gazi grasped the reins and set it in motion. His successors fed its strength and maintained its pace. But it was Mehmed II, Mehmed the Conqueror, who pressed down on the accelerator with full force. The conquest of Constantinople in 1453 was not simply a victory. It was a seismic shift in the balance of global power. That single city controlled the only land bridge between Asian and European commerce. Once it fell, all trade between the East and the West suddenly flowed through Ottoman territory. Every ship, every merchant caravan, every precious good became a source of revenue. Venice paid, Genoa paid, Hungary paid, Russia paid. Even the wealthy kingdoms of the Middle East found their trade passing under Ottoman oversight. This constant river of wealth strengthened the empire's armies, allowed for technological advancement, and fueled a system of governance unlike anything Europe had seen. Yet, the empire's transformation did not stop there. Soon came Sultan Selim I, strong-willed, sharp-minded, and unrelenting. Though his reign lasted only 8 years, he reshaped the political and religious landscape of the Middle East forever. After crushing the Safavids in 1514, he turned his attention to the south. Between 1516 and 1517, Selim swept through Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and the Holy Lands of the Hejaz with astonishing speed. In less than 2 years, he took control of the region's most important trade roads, the pilgrimage routes, and the access points to the Mediterranean. With one sweeping movement, he achieved what many rulers could not accomplish in a lifetime. This growing empire stood on a powerful military tripod: disciplined infantry, swift and deadly cavalry, and a commanding navy. The infantry was modern, professional, and technologically advanced. The cavalry moved so swiftly across remote territories that enemy states often didn't realize they were defeated until it was too late. And the navy, under legendary commanders like Barbarossa, turned the Mediterranean into a near Ottoman domain. Venice, Genoa, and even Spain felt the pressure of their presence. But an empire built purely on military force rarely lasts long. The Ottomans were different. They ruled with a unique softness, an administrative flexibility that won hearts instead of forcing submission. They did not impose their religion or culture on conquered peoples. Greeks remained Christian, Egyptians continued their traditions, Arabs preserved their local legal systems. This respect for diversity reduced rebellions and strengthened stability. While the Ottomans advanced with unity and purpose, the rest of the world was drowning in its own turmoil. China was trapped in political struggles. The Safavids battled civil wars. The Mughals were engrossed in shaping their economy. And Europe was shattered by religious conflict, with kingdoms fighting their neighbors and sometimes even themselves. In the midst of all this global disturbance, only one empire had clarity, strength, and opportunity: the Ottoman Empire. Their greatest advantage, however, was their leadership. For nearly 200 years, they enjoyed a chain of extraordinary rulers: Osman I, Orhan, Murad I, Bayezid I, Mehmed the Conqueror, Selim I, and Suleiman the Magnificent. 2 whole centuries without a weak or incapable sultan, something almost unheard of in the history of empires. And so, when you turn back and look at the full picture, the answer becomes beautifully clear. The Ottomans dominated 3 continents because they sat at the world's most strategic crossroads, because they controlled the gates of global trade, because their armies and fleets were among the strongest in existence, because their strategies were modern, their governance wise, their rulers exceptional, and their ambition unstoppable. For 400 years, they reigned not by chance, but by sheer mastery: political, military, economic, and strategic. If this journey moved you, then with gratitude and respect, we bring this narrative to its close.